me turn my phone off. Our next stop on our journey from Krypton to Earth would be 1978's Superman. Or Superman 1978. Or Superman the movie. Or however many different ways it was marketed. This was the one I was the most excited to rewatch for all this. Mostly because, like, for so many, this is the superhero movie. For so many, this is their Superman. Like, the definitive version of Superman. I was excited to rewatch this because, A, I had not seen this since I was a kid. Yeah, the most I had thought about this movie since watching it as a kid was in all of the fan wars during the release of all the Snyder movies when I was in high school and in, like, early college. B, this was never my Superman. My brother showed it to me as a kid. I liked it a lot, but it wasn't my Superman. My Superman was the DVDs of the Superman the Animated Series. My Superman was Tim Daly. My Superman was George Newbern if he was with the Justice League. My Superman skipped leg day. My Clark Kent wasn't a goofy guy. Someone wouldn't believe he was Superman because he was so buried in his work. Not to say that it's better, it's just that's the Clark Kent I grew up with, right? Even like as a kid having little things where it's like, my Krypton looked like this, but in the movie, Krypton looked like this, right? So I wasn't going into this movie like wanting to hate it or anything. I was going in like, okay, like I remember kind of having some personal issues with this movie. I remember having like taste differences from this movie, if that makes any sense. And I also remember from a young age not liking the ending. So there's that. And knowing this movie was held in such a high regard, the reason I started these rewatches is I rewatched that video of Gunn ranking his top 5 superhero movies, and Superman was like number 3 or something. From what I've heard, Kevin Feige actually has like every Marvel team rewatch this movie altogether to be like, this is the gold standard that we all need to aspire to. So as I've gotten older, I've been excited to rewatch this. I'm not as insecure about, what is my Superman. Like, our preferred versions of a character who's told as many times as myths. It's going to be an amalgamation of everything, right? As I get older, it's kind of fun to be like, okay, I like this aspect of this Superman. I like this aspect of this Superman. And I do have to stress that even as a kid, I saw this as, okay, this is a very good adaptation of Superman. This movie is really fucking good. This movie has so much heart. It has like a really like epic scope that tells the audience, no, we are taking this seriously. You will believe a man can fly, was the tagline. As I got older, I kind of finally realized, like, oh, that means, like, hey, like, no, you're going to enter this reality and you're going to take this as seriously as we, the filmmakers, are going to. It's that sort of sincerity that wasn't really present in superhero movies. That is why I can see this being that sort of, hey, if you're going to make a Marvel movie, this is almost the tone you have to take of like, yeah, like we can poke fun at the silly things. We can poke fun at the phone booth thing. But you have to take this seriously. Treat it like Shakespeare. Treat it like a work of literature. Treat it like a real story that has artistic merit. That's what Richard Donner did making this movie. Made a movie that has romance and spectacle and heart, humor, and spectacle. Those are 3 fundamental aspects of a superhero movie. And for 1978, Superman has everything. You have a really beautifully sincere romance between Lois and Clark and Superman. You have a schoolyard crush that feels sincere, that only grows as the movie goes on. You have Margot Kidder pulling double duty as both badass, take-no-nonsense reporter, and when Superman shows up, she's like a little girl having a crush for the first time. Like, she's so unsure of how to deal with these feelings. She's so cynical that she's like, I don't believe that you're real, and she's half, I really hope you're real. That whole Daily Planet newsroom with Mark McClure and Jackie Cooper bouncing off Margot Kidder and Chris Reeve, it's fucking amazing. It's energetic, it's fun, it's a really good juxtaposition from Smallville. Smallville is a very deliberately slow-paced part of the movie because you have to see the humble beginnings that Clark comes from. And then you get Glenn Ford as Jonathan Kent. Good God. He may not be in it much, but the conversation up the driveway. You are here for a reason. It is so beautiful and tender, and as soon as he dies, you feel that, man. It's a rough go. And then you have a foil in Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, who, God, rest in peace, man. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is right. It's once again, it's not my Lex Luthor. It's a very different kind of character. As a kid, I guess I was a little burnt out on movie villains not being what I remembered from the shows and comics, and not being, in my eyes, properly adapted. It was a big issue in like the early 2000s. Just constantly seeing villains not done well, or like threatening at all, or none that I can think of though. Gene Hackman bounces off of Chris Reeves so damn well. Their chemistry is electric together, man. You have this mountain of a man against this just conniving little shit, and it's so fun to watch. Gene Hackman is chewing up the scenery. He is having so much fun. I can't really say anything new about this movie. Everything has been said since 1978. The music by John Williams goes all the way from the strange but epic beginning of Krypton. You have the fun, whimsical themes in Smallville. You have like the eerie stuff when he's going to the fortress. You have the Superman march, man. It's incredible. Even for those who it's not their Superman theme like me, like I gotta respect it. It's so damn good. But like, it doesn't need to be in everything, Danny Elfman. But fuck it, let's talk about Chris Reeve. What else can I say? He's perfect. His Clark is so charming and adorable. His Superman is a mountain of a man. He is charismatic. He is strong. He is a textbook representation of positive masculinity. He is this protector and giant. Yeah, he's gonna save cats from trees. He's gonna be cool with kids, and he's gonna fly the girl that he likes around. It's wonderful. This movie is fantastic, and it has an ending I don't love. I don't love the going back in time to stop Lois from dying. This is my biggest complaint with the movie. I get why it's there. I understand that it is meant to be the one time he breaks his rule is for a positive thing. He lets himself be selfish for one moment. But I also wonder if it would have been just as impactful if he had just saved her just in the nick of time. I have very complicated feelings on it. From what I understand, doing background research, I think the time travel was supposed to be the ending of 2, but when all the behind the scenes nonsense happened, they moved it to 1 because they had already shot some of that. So I don't know if it could have been done as effectively if Lois hadn't died and then been brought back, but I don't love it. I really, that part bothers me. I have the disadvantage of coming in with a fan mindset of trying to pretend I have ownership over a character, which is inherently ridiculous, right? I really do not love the climax of the movie. I do like the ending though. It's as hokey as it is, dropping off Lex, hey Warden, you and I are on the same side, man, yeah. All things considered, this is such a good movie. Even with my biggest pet peeve being like a major part of the ending, I still can't say this is a bad movie. Superman is so good. And it definitely is one of those, like, it is in the time capsule of like Superman adaptations and versions of Superman to watch. And I'm excited to see how this influences the new one. Superman is so worth the watch. Especially if you haven't watched it in a while, if you've never seen it. Go into it knowing it's from the late 70s. Go into it knowing that it's not going to be the most comic accurate version of Superman as far as, villains and everything goes. It's a really special movie. This is a very special movie, and everyone needs to watch it at least once. And I'm very happy that it's only gotten better as I've gotten older. Superman, with the minor flaws I have, with the major stuff that I don't like, with some of the aspects of it that I don't love, even with all that, this is such a damn good and special movie. I see why this is such an inspiration to a lot of future adaptations and versions of Superman after this. Hell, a lot of post-Crisis Superman took a little bit from this, which was really fun. So it's like, okay, so like, I can do all this. I can do all this not my Superman stuff, but like, there's definitely a DNA of this movie and the stuff that I grew up on. So, it's kind of a bullshit argument when you think about it that way. I really enjoyed going back to this one with fresh eyes as an adult. I was relieved to learn it's only gotten better as I've gotten older. And the Chris Reeve of it all, he really is a perfect Superman. And I understand, like, why everyone is compared against him. Unfairly to every new actor, right? So after all this rambling, all this musing, I'm happy to report that Superman gets an A from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for letting me ramble a little bit about this one. I had a lot of thoughts and feelings on this movie. Hope I was able to get all those across well. So basically, this is Andy Boy asking all you guys to be good, do good, and make the world a better place. Thanks, guys.